Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining today. We wanted to seek your good wishes, your blessing, and blessings of Radha Krishna, Radha Shyamsundar, Radha Madhav, Krishna Balaram, Gaunitai, Srila Prabhupada, and Gurudev. And today we wanted to talk about Gadadhar Pandit. It's his disappearance day tomorrow. And it's also the, I think, appearance day of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we thought we'd remember Gadadhar Pandit today. And then tomorrow we will remember Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we'll take a little break from Saptarishis for probably a week, because later on this week is also Gundicha Marjan and also Rath Yatra. So we will celebrate those festivals this week. So who is Gadadhar Pandit? This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela. Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Daita Chanda, Jaya Gora Bhatta Vinda.
Gadadhar Panditadi Prabhu Nija Shakti Tansabara Charane Mora Sahasra Pranati. Translation: offer my respectful obeisances unto the internal potencies of the Lord, of whom Sri Gadadhar Prabhu is the foremost.
So principally the Lord has three potencies. He himself, of course, he's got his internal potency and he's got his external potency. And then there's the marginal potency. So these are the three: internal, external, marginal. We fall into the category of marginal, and this world falls into the category of external energy of the Lord, the material world. And the internal energy is his parts and parcels. And one of them, the foremost, is Gadadhar Pandit. So there's another verse which Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written.
Smara Gora Gadadhar Kelikalam Bhava Gora Gadadhar Pakshacharam Shrinu Gora Gadadhar Charukatam Vaja Godru Makanana Kunjvidam. Remember the wonderful pastimes of Gaur and Gadadhar. Become a servant of Gaur and Gadadhar. Listen to the beautiful narrations concerning Gaur and Gadadhar and worship Lord Gaur, the beautiful moon in the groves of Godrum.
So very nice. Gaur, Gadadhar, Radha, Krishna. So they go together. So who is he? He appears on the dark moon day of the month of Vaishak. Gadadhar Pandit's father was named Madhav Mishra and his mother's name was Ratnavati Devi. They lived initially in Bangladesh but moved closer to the home of Jagannath Mishra in Mayapur when Gadadhar was young. Sri Ratnavati Devi looked upon Sachi Devi as her big sister. The two of them were always spending time with each other. Who is Sachi Devi? That is the mother of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At the time of his childhood pastimes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to often play with Gadadhar Pandit. They both went to the same school together, Gangadas Pandit School, to study. Gadadhar Pandit was a year younger than Gauranga. He had so much affection for Gauranga that he could not leave his company even for a moment. They were inseparable. And that was until the school started. Now, this is often the worshipable deities which Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, he would install Gaur, Gadadhar. And Prabhupada actually changed that when he came to the West. He saw that we actually need the mercy of Nityananda. So we usually worship Gaur Nitai. So it's a slight change there. So, in his Gaura Ganodesh Dipika, Kavi Karnapur describes the identity of the various personalities in Gaura Leela. He states that Gadadhar is the incarnation of Radha, the daughter of Vrishabhanu and Kirtida. And this is also confirmed by Swarup Damodar and Vasudev Ghosh. So Gadadhar comes in this world 500 odd years ago. And he is actually Radharani in Krishna Lila. So Radharani comes as a man in Chaitanya Lila. When Krishna comes as Gaura, Radha comes as Gadadhar, knowing that Krishna would not be able to. Why does he do this? Why does Gadadhar come like this? Why does Radharani come like this? She knows, because Krishna has stolen Radharani's internal bhav. Her love for him, Krishna couldn't understand. So he took that love by force, right? That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has this golden complexion. And Radha knew that my love is so deep for Krishna, he won't be able to handle it. So she came as Gadadhar to protect the Lord, to help him through this process of trying to understand her, Radha. So still concerned, Radha also came as Gadadhar and was constantly with Gauranga. Why not? Why don't we worship Gaura Gadadhar instead of Gaura Nitai? Srila Prabhupada knew we are not qualified to worship Gaura Gadadhar. We must approach Gaura Nitai. Nitai is so kind, so merciful. That is why we approach Nityananda. But of course, Gadadhar is very kind as well. But the kindness of Nityananda is a different kind of kindness. Nityananda gives shelter to the most fallen, like he gave shelter to Jagai and Madai. Even though Jagai and Madai hurt him, yet he took no offense. He still wanted to see their welfare, to their welfare. So this is why Nityananda is whom we worship, not Gadadhar, at least not on the altar. So if we look at, this is the Panchatattva in Mayapur, the most amazing deities. We have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have on his right Nityananda, and then Advaitacharya. And then we have Gadadhar. There's Gadadhar. We talked about Srivas Pandit or Srivas Thakur last week. This week we're talking about Gadadhar Pandit on the left to Chaitanya. And who are they in Krishna Lila? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna combined together. That's why he comes in a golden form. He takes the bodily hue of Radharani because her bhav is so strong and so powerful, covers the blackness and the shyam color of Krishna. And then Nityananda is Balaram, Mahavishnu, and Sadashiva is the Dvaitacharya. Radharani is Gadadhar Pandit. So this is unique. This is and very confidential as well. This is not known to many people. And then Narad Muni, as we discussed, is Srivas Pandit. So Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, and Advaita, these three are regarded to be Vishnu Tattva. They're part of the absolute truth. As well as is Gadadhar, as is Srivas, but they have different aspects of the absolute truth. So this is really interesting. I always love this. How does a Panchatattva, these five are the Panchatattva, the five truths. Pancha means five, and Tattva means truth. How do they impact us? Advaita, the one on the far right, from them looking at us, far left as we're looking at them, is Bhakta Avatar. He prays for our well-being. So Nityananda is Swarupakam. So in our lives, we would have had many people praying for us. I hope this fellow improves. And then we will have had somebody who come and gave us a book, or he said to us, you should take up chanting the holy names. So that is somebody who preaches and revolutionizes our life. Nityananda Swarupakam. And then we would have had somebody come to the temple and do some seva. And that is Srivas Thakur, the Bhakta, So the Bhakta comes and says, come to the temple. And then Gadadhar gets involved. Bhakta Shakti, come, go deeper. You've come to the temple, very nice. But now try to learn the philosophy and develop your love for God. And then we have Chaitanya Bhakta Rupa, the object of our love, who we want to connect with. So these different personalities in our lives will have acted in the above capacities to assist us develop our Krishna consciousness. So the Panchatattva do exactly the same. Advaitacharya prayed for us so that Chaitanya comes. Nityananda, he spread the word. Srivas Acharya, he would encourage us, do some seva. Gadadhar, go deep. And then, of course, the object of our love is Chaitanya. So this is another verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Antyalila 7166.
Panditera Sojanya Brahmanyata Guna Trida Prema Mudra Loke Karela Khyapana. Translation: Gadadhar Pandit is celebrated all over the world for his gentle behavior, his Brahminical attributes, and his steady love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
He was very gentle. His mood, his behavior was different from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and different from Radharani as well. And we'll see why. As Radha and Krishna have very different personalities, so do Gora and Gadadhar. Gadadhar Pandit was very serious, self-composed, peaceful, renounced, humble, fond of solitude. On the other hand, especially in his childhood, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would act very fickle, unsteady, mischievous, and whimsical, a little bit like Krishna. When they were studying in school, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would disturb Gadadhar with illogical questions and arguments. His mood was, he was like a scholar, and he would come up with many different philosophies and arguments, and that's how they would debate with each other. So he would come up with illogical questions and arguments whose sophistry was meant to baffle Gadadhar and disturb his studies. So he used to actually have transcendental debates, arguments with Gadadhar. As a result, Gadadhar would try to keep away from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he couldn't bear to keep aloof from the Lord. Gadadhar Pandit would preach to the Lord, and he would say, and Gadadhar Pandit would say to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you should focus on the Lord, become dedicated to Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would say, yes, Gadadhar, soon I shall become such a great Vaishnava that even Brahma and Shiva will come to me and bow down. So anyway, after the passing away of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Gaya for the Pindan ceremony. So at that time he met with Ishwara Puri. Before that, Ishwara Puri had come to Navadvip one time, and he was very affectionate to Gadadhar and won his heart. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Ishwara Puri, he actually took Ishwara Puri as his guru. So Gauranga, he accepted the chanting of the holy names from Ishwara Puri, and he became completely transformed. He returned to Navadvip from Gaya after taking initiation from Ishwara Puri. Day and night, he would float in the ocean of Krishna Prema. So this is Radharani's bhav really came out in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after initiation by Ishwara Puri. So then, anytime he would chant the name of Krishna, he would just go into ecstasy. Seeing the wonderful tears of ecstasy, Gadadhar found himself also overwhelmed with ecstasy. From then on, Gadadhar Pandit found it difficult to give up the Lord's association even for an hour. Gauranga would ask, Gadadhar, where is Shyam Sundar? Where is that Lord of Vrindavan? And then the Lord would begin to weep. So this is in the mood of Radharani, in the mood of separation from Krishna. So that is the mood that developed in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because that's what he wanted to understand. How can Radha love me so much? What is it that she sees in me that she loves so much? Gadadhar was stunned and could not answer could not understand what answer to give. With great reverence, he humbly submitted. Krishna is in your heart. Upon hearing this, Gauranga began tearing at his chest, but Gadadhar quickly restrained his hands from doing any damage. And this is the reason why Gadadhar appeared, right? As Srimati Radharani, he came as Gadadhar to protect the Lord, because he knew that the love that she has for Krishna is so deep, so exalted, that even Krishna would struggle to understand it. And Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord said, Gadadhar, let go of my hands. If I cannot see Krishna, I will not be able to maintain my life. So this is the mood of Radharani. It's the very mood of Radharani. Gadadhar said, if you just remain patient, Krishna will surely reveal himself. He will surely come here before long. With this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became pacified. So as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gadadhar, his role was to calm Chaitanya Mahaprabhu down. Seeing these pastimes of Gaura Gadadhar, Sachimata, the mother of Chaitanya, thought to herself with great satisfaction, this boy Gadadhar is very intelligent. I need not fear for Gaura Hari's sake. Sachimata said, Gadadhar, you must always stay by the side of my son, Gaura Hari. So one day in the house of Shuklambar Brahmachari, the Lord speaking about Krishna, Gadadhar became overwhelmed with ecstasy, began loudly weeping. Gauranga asked, who is that within the house who is weeping so intensely? Shuklambar Brahmachari said, it is your Gadadhar. The Lord said, Gadadhar, you are so fortunate. From your very childhood, you have been a determined devotee of Krishna. My own birth was useless. Because of all my sinful karma, I could not attain Krishna. Of course, the Lord has no sin, but he was manifesting a different mood in the early stage of his time as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The mood was that of a scholar and a student engaged in debate, philosophical debates. Because of all my, saying this, the Lord embraced Gadadhar in great ecstatic love. Advaitacharya revealed to Gadadhar who Gauranga is, when one day at his home, he started to offer arti to Gauranga. Gadadhar was completely convinced. When the Lord was performing his Navadvip Leela, his chief assistant was Gadadhar. One day, the Lord was wandering by the banks of the Ganga when he came upon a small forest grove and he sat down. He became absorbed in remembering the Vrindavan pastimes. Mukunda Dutt began sweetly singing songs in the Pavra Rag. Gadadhar, after gathering flowers in the forest, decorated the Lord's neck with a garland, just as formerly in Vrindavan, Radharani used to decorate Lord Krishna. In the same way, Gadadhar decorated the holy form of Lord Gauranga. Gauranga sat Gadadhar down, and Sri Advaitacharya performed the arti to the two of them. Sri Nityananda was seated on the left of them. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is Gadadhar, this is Nityananda. They would do arti to them. Let's see here, somebody's blowing a conch shell, somebody's playing, offering fan, they're doing kirtan. One time, Pundarik Nidhyaviti, Vidyanidhi, came to Navadvip. At that time, Mukunda Dutt intimated to Gadadhar that there was a Vaishnava worth seeing. When Gadadhar Pandit came before Pundarik, he saw that Pundarik appeared like a materialistic person, right? He was wearing very opulent clothes and eating opulent food, and many other things. So Gadadhar thought, how can this be a devotee? He looks like a materialist. So his faith was somewhat damaged upon seeing this. And he said to himself, that's what he said to himself. Now, Mukunda Dutt, he could understand the mind of Gadadhar. And he sang a verse about Krishna Leela in front of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And when Pundarik heard this, he started crying, Krishna, Krishna. He became fully Krishna conscious. Well, he always was, he always is. But he fell upon the ground in ecstasy. And at that time, Gadadhar realized that this is no ordinary devotee. Just the hearing the name of Krishna, he's gone into ecstasy, realizing that he had committed a great offense. Gadadhar Pandit accepted mantra initiation from Pundarik, who is regarded to be Vrishabhanu in Krishna Leela. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi was no ordinary person. In the Krishna Leela, he is actually the father of Srimati Radharani. So effectively the father of Gadadhar. So we also understand that Gadadhar accepted initiation, took Pundarik as his guru. So our spiritual master is our father. It's our real father. Once Gauranga started worshipping Shaligram Shila, he was reminded of Krishna and he started weeping. So just by his tears, he would bathe the Shaligram. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought, oh no, this is not good. I should be using Ganga Jal, not my tears. So he gave that Shila to Gadadhar because Gadadhar was qualified to worship Krishna. Another name for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Gadadhar Prananath, the life and soul of Gadadhar Pandit. No one can say how merciful the Lord is to Gadadhar Pandit, but people know the Lord as Gadadhar Gaura, the Lord Gauranga of Gadadhar Pandit. Gauranga took sannyas and went to Jagannath Puri. Later, Gadadhar Pandit also took sannyas and he went to Jagannath Puri to be with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Gadadhar Pandit, he accepted Kshetra sannyas, a renunciate who never leaves the dham. So this is a different kind of sannyas. He would take a vow that I will always stay in the holy place, never leave it. There are some sannyasis who travel. They wouldn't stay in a place for more than 3 days. They will simply just be so renounced. They will just travel and preach the glories of the holy name without any fear, without any care. But when the Lord made his pilgrimage to Vrindavan, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left Puri for months. Gadadhar Pandit couldn't live without Chaitanya, so he wanted to break his vow and go with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the Lord said, no, you are Kshetra sannyas, you stay. And he asked him to do 2 things. You stay in Puri, you give initiation to deserving souls, you teach Bhagavatam every day, and you serve the deity of Tota Gopinath with full love and devotion. So Gadadhar Pandit, he did that. And this is this magnificent deity of Tota Gopinath. And then we have Radharani and must be Lalita or Vishakha next to. So this is a verse from the Chaitanya Madhya Lila 24:313.
Aham vedmi sukho veti vyaso veti na veti va bhaktya bhagavatam graham na buddhya na chatikaya. Translation, Lord Shiva said, I may know, Sukhdev Goswami, the son of Vyasadev, may know, and Vyasadev may know or may not know the Srimad Bhagavatam. On the whole, Srimad Bhagavatam, the spotless Purana, can be learned only through devotional service, not by material intelligence, speculative methods, or imaginary commentaries.
This is such an amazing verse, because Lord Shiva is saying, I may know. He's not saying I know. Right? He's recited the Bhagavatam many a time to Parvati Mata, so many times. Sukadeva Goswami may know. Vyasadev may or may not know the Bhagavatam. Vyasadev is the author. On the whole, the Bhagavatam, the spotless Puran, can be learned only through bhakti, not by material intelligence, etc. So this is a really important point. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar, they would sit for 2-3 hours every day and they would recite the Bhagavatam. And it would be Gadadhar who would be reciting and Chaitanya would be listening. So this is very significant. Actually, the Bhagavatam can only be understood and explained by the bhakta, by the devotee, who is fully in bhakti yoga, devotional service. So this is very, very important point to understand. This is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would listen to Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. And this is Tota Gopinath. This deity is very, very unique. So we saw it here. Here you can't see the true glory of this deity, but here you can. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world, Gadadhar Pandit, he was shocked and he aged very fast. Within like a year, he aged like 20 years. And he couldn't do his seva to Tota Gopinath, which was one of the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You should serve Tota Gopinath. So he couldn't like stand and put a garland on him. So what did Tota Gopinath do? They sat down for Gadadhar Pandit so that he could worship them. So if you see here, Tota Gopinath, this is a very unique deity, is sitting in a lotus position. So he was in a standing position and he sat down. And this is how we can have darshan of Tota Gopinath even today. So this is the kindness of the Lord. He sat down for Gadadhar Pandit and he accepted the worship of Gadadhar. Every day Gadadhar would go to Tota Gopinath and Gadadhar would recite the Bhagavatam to Gauranga for 3 hours. The pastime especially of Dhruva and Prahlad were recited 108 times at least. Why Gadadhar explained to Gauranga? Only a devotee can understand Srimad Bhagavatam. We just read that verse. Tota Gopinath is very ancient deity. When Brahma chanted the Brahma Samhita to Lord Vishnu, at that time of creation, it was in the presence of this deity. So this is like trillions of years ago, 155 trillion years ago, at the beginning of the creation. The deity was present. So you can see how old this deity is. Why is the deity sitting? When Gauranga merged with Tota Gopinath, Gadadhar aged very quickly. He could not decorate Tota Gopinath. Krishna decided to sit down for Radha, for Gadadhar. Gadadhar stayed after Gauranga left to wait to teach Bhagavatam to Srinivasacharya. So this is one of the instructions that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him, that stay because Srinivasacharya will come and you should teach the Bhagavatam. So Srinivasacharya did come, but at that time Gadadhar's Bhagavatam was not legible because Gadadhar was reading and he was crying, and the tears fell on the Bhagavatam and eventually erased the verses from the pages. So the Bhagavatam was illegible. And anyway, he said to Srinivas, you need another Bhagavatam from somewhere. So by the time he brought the Bhagavatam back again, another one, Gadadhar left because he just could not tolerate the being absent from Gauranga. So then Srinivasacharya, he learned the Bhagavatam from Jiva Goswami. So what's the difference between Radha and Gadadhar, right? We're saying Gadadhar is Radharani, but there is a difference between the two, in one sense. There is no difference between Gadadhar and Srimati Radha, but the activities are different in Krishna's pastimes and in Chaitanya Leela. In Chaitanya Leela, Gadadhar is in the mood of a servant. In Krishna Lila, Radharani's mood is, Krishna, you're mine. It's not I'm yours, you're mine. It's a different mood. No gopi, including Chandravali, Lalita, and Vishaka, can experience Shrimati Radhika's Madanakya Mahabhav. Krishna experiences the ecstatic loving moods of Ruda and Adiruda, but not Madanakya Bhav, meeting in separation. That only Radharani relishes. Right? Krishna can't be separated from himself, but Radha can be separated from Krishna. And in that mood of separation, her love for Krishna grows hugely. And that is what Krishna is trying to capture and understand. Shri Gadadhar Pandit, on the other hand, has Madanyakya Mahabhav. In Gaura Leela, however, it is covered so that he can help Krishna to play the part of Srimati Radharani. If Gadadhar had exhibited the same Mahabhav that Radharani has, then Gadadhar would have been in ecstasy. But Gadadhar didn't want to become in ecstasy. He wanted Krishna's Gauranga to be in ecstasy, but he wanted to help Gauranga in that ecstatic mood. In the form of Gadadhar Pandit, Srimati Radhika is looking and examining. If there's something missing in Krishna's or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's enjoyment or ecstasy, she assists him. So this is the difference. Because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, acting in the mood of Srimati Radharani, Gadadhar did not act in the mood of Radharani, because there can only be one Radharani. He understood this is Krishna's time. This is Krishna's opportunity to relish the loving ecstasy of Srimati Radharani. So I will keep my mood of Radha in the background and just support him in his experience of Radha Bhav. It is also said that if Gadadhar Pandit had manifested the nature or feature of Radharani, then rather than Krishna, who was trying to absorb himself in the mood of Radharani, would have become attracted to the Radha outside of him and wouldn't have been able to maintain his inner mood as Radha. So Gadadhar Pandit, to facilitate Lord Chaitanya in his pastime, played the perfect role to complement and support the Lord, that of a perfect Brahman, very gentle, very submissive, very scholarly, and very sober. So this is Go Gadadhar. And tomorrow is a very special day. It's the disappearance day of Gadadhar, when he merges with that deity. So I wanted to stop there. Any questions, any comments? This is quite not many devotees will be sort of aware, or the position of Gadadhar is not very famous, if you like, but it's very important. Okay, thank you so much. Gadadhar Pandit ki jai.